Hello, this is Catherine from Accelerated Reader. Today, I will be reading Chapter 8 from Two Worlds, a novel of friends and foes from strange places. Written by Laura T. Lee. Before I begin reading, I would like to give a big thanks to the author for sending me this book to read on my channel. In the description below, I've included links where you may find and purchase this book. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Chapter 8. In 1 hour, the Alpha 201 had destroyed more than 50 groups of dwarves, thanks to Lily and her dangerous array of weapons. She had to be careful, though. One mistake or one wrong throw, and the impressive elfin city below them could go boom. Stacy landed the spaceship next to the east tower door. Lily jumped out of the aircraft and raced through the tower entrance, a grenade at the ready. She sped past the now obliterated infirmary, leaped over a flight of stairs, turned a corner, and crashed into Tara. Lily and Tara fell over as they slammed into each other. "Tara!" Lily gasped. "What are you doing here?" "I escaped," Tara replied, which pretty much summed up everything. "We need to go through that doorway," Stacy shouted, pointing at an open door behind Tara. "Yeah, but..." Lily looked over Tara's shoulder. "Dwarf!" The dwarf must have been patrolling the hallways. As he came into view, he yelled, "Hey!" and pulled out a dart gun. "Go!" Tara commanded. Leaping forward, Lily and Stacy sprinted through the door as Tara performed a professional headlock on the dwarf. Lily turned back. "Tara!" she yelled. "Come with us." "Not enough time," Tara replied. "Now go!" Lily and Stacy ran through a deserted corridor, leaping over rubble and ducking under broken metal beams. "Are you sure where we're going?" Lily said between gasps of breath. "Absolutely not." Well, that was reassuring. The tunnel opened into the poop. The metal transport container was now missing from the chute. Maybe Lily shouldn't have shot that button. "What's the fastest way to the building roof?" she asked. "The poop," Stacy said. "But the box is gone and the button's destroyed." Lily did some quick thinking for a few moments. "The transportation," she said. "How does it work?" "Well," Stacy said, "first you enter your destination and press the button. You get in the box and..." "No, I already know that. What does the box move on?" "Elevator cables, of course." "Elevator cables!" Lily exclaimed. She turned to Stacy. "I have the craziest idea ever, but I don't have time to tell you right now," she said. Lily ran to the empty box pit and looked down. Sure enough, thick cables dangled down the dark tunnel. Maybe she could tell Stacy what this was all about. "I'm going to jump," she said. "Don't you Lily!" Stacy yelled. Lily had jumped into the hole and was now clinging to one of the cables. Stacy was about to jump in after Lily when she stopped her. "Meet me at the south tower next to the nearest transport tunnel," she said. After a moment's silence, she added, "Well, what are you waiting for? Go!" A reluctant Stacy ran out a random door. 10 seconds later, Lily punched the air in frustration and started to fall, grabbing the cable just in time. Stupid idea, she thought. How would she even find the southern tower? But Stacy had already left, so there was no other choice but to move on. Lily took a deep breath and carefully shinnied down the wire. Soon, Lily faced an intersection with wires going left and right. There were multiple steel cables lined up side by side. Above Lily, the wire began to groan and break. The cables to the left had fallen from their supports. She twisted to the right. The gap between the two wires was at least 5 feet. She swung back and forth to gather momentum and launched herself from the wire. Her fingers brushed the wire, grabbing thin air. Lily yelped as her left hand dangled in the dim blackness. She lunged for the cable and managed to wrap it around her right hand. She hung on for dear life, trying to reach the wire with her other hand. Success! Lily now gripped the thick wire with both hands. She began the journey through the elevator chute. Lily finally saw a rectangle-shaped opening above her. Light streamed through the gap. She pulled herself up and lay gasping for breath on the floor. A voice behind her said, "Lily?" "Stacy," Lily croaked. "Help me up." A hand roughly yanked her into a standing position. "Lily Claire," Stacy said. "That was, without a doubt, the dumbest thing I've ever seen anyone do. And I really don't like people who do dumb things." Sorry? Apology not accepted. Suddenly, a roaring sound shook the ground. Lily and Stacy dashed to the nearest window. A wave of flaming arrows set the ground ablaze, the wall of flames speeding toward the elfin city. "The dwarves have not called the war their victory yet," Stacy gasped. "They are well known for their fire weapons." "Won't the walls keep the fire out?" Lily asked. "Maybe." It was then that Lily remembered the north wall had collapsed. The sound of screaming broke through the air. Lily turned around. What was that? Behind her, Stacy shrieked. Lily whipped around to find that giant fireballs were sailing over the walls, devastating the main city. Buildings, big and small, were set ablaze. Elves ran around, screaming in terror. "Phoom!" Lily looked up. "What the?" "Kabla-boom!" An unnaturally big fireball crashed through the wall. Lily and Stacy were blown backward. Stacy tumbled across the floor into a pile of packing boxes. Lily was not so lucky. She flew 20 feet into a hard stone wall. "Ow!" she groaned. Stacy sat up, dazed. Her eyes were crossed, which might have been funny if it wasn't because a humongous ball of fire had punched a smoldering hole in the wall 15 feet from her. Stacy staggered over to Lily's side. "Are you all right?" she asked. "If someone has been blasted 20 feet into a wall, how could they be all right?" Lily said. Stacy didn't answer that. Stay tuned for Chapter 9. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe.